Hello, Bill sisters. What it is. I'm coming back at you on Thursday, January 25th, because I was up so late editing yesterday's version, the first ever episode of Bill's Sisters. Um, Editing it for length, and dude, I'm never going to do that again. I might edit a little bit, but I was really in a dark place. And there's been some more news that came out that I just wanted to kind of toss out there. Sorry, I'm gonna pause just to make sure I wasn't just kidding. Um, so my cat is here and she wants to play. So you'll have Nini running around in the back room making noise. I was thinking about the name of this podcast, and of course, we're calling it Bill's Sisters. But I thought to kind of be ironic, and not to take ourselves too seriously, that we could call it light on bills, instead of heavy on bills. Plus, I love MC Light. Ah, so yeah, to not take ourselves too seriously, and also to juxtapose this vis-a-vis other things that are going on out there. So, yeah, the couple things. So, I have been a bit under the weather, besides having been up late, so late last night. The air quality in Northern Virginia is poor. Yeah, poor. And it has been this way for several days. I have asthma, so does our youngest kid. And so, when this happens, I have a serious hard time breathing, and I'm just like kaput. That's it, like no energy. I can fall asleep at the drop of a hat. And it's not narcolepsy because I know that I have asthma, and I know that I just am not getting enough oxygen in my body, and I just kind of implode. So, but the bills are much more important than that. So that's why I'm here. So I haven't been on the interwebs today, but I did see some stuff just before I went to bed, which was a no-no. Um, One of the things that really blew my effing mind was, I alluded to the time of possession in the division round that we lost, that tragic loss between the Bills and the Chiefs by one infamous field goal. Um, and I'm going to share the image, but CBS Sports uh, shared the key performance indicators of the game. Time of possession, about which we've spoken. The Bills had 37 minutes and the Chiefs had 23, like I said. But also first downs, total yards, third down conversions, fourth down conversions, and turnovers. So we won in every category except the game. Now, this in the first place should freaking silence all the McDermott haters, or whatever they are. It's like just knee-jerk reactions to loss. Okay, as I said, everyone grieves differently, so that's fine. But if you win on every KPI, then this is just about, as the discussion has been, the one or two plays in every game, and you never know which one those are going to be, that turn the tide. And Mitch Morse spoke about this in his presser. God love him. Um, you know, my husband read to me, he was, because he's been adopted into the mafia since moving to the US. And that's a whole backstory. We were estranged for 2.5 years after I came here with our youngest two kids. He was stuck in Belgium waiting on his green card. We couldn't work around the process. So then COVID hit and blah, blah, blah. So I've been here a bit longer on the back of a quite tragic thing. Like we raced to get back to the US because my dad's health was failing. And my dad is, he's the brother of Van Miller, or Van Miller is his brother, I should say. And they're both up there in the end zone in the sky now. May they rest in power. So we raced back here because my dad's health was failing. Unfortunately, didn't make it. He died before I got back to the US. And all daughters out there who have that thing with their dad. I mean, my dad is why I love football. It's not like he ever actively encouraged me to watch football. It's what he was doing on a Sunday, and I just wanted to be close to him. So one of the things I think is really cool, I think I mentioned it in our first pseudo episode with my sister and mom. I want to hear from all of our 0 listeners right now, but hopefully you will come. I want to hear everybody's first Bills memory. And it can be specific, or like in my case, it's really general, like I was just describing. I don't remember not ever watching football with my dad on Sunday. And I think one of the first images of me as a toddler, and we will never find it again, because that's my life. We'll never find it again, but my mom used to have a picture of me sitting at the end of the couch on the floor in my diapers. So I guess I was, between 1 and 2, drinking the bottom of the empties of my dad's beers, which is really gross. Like I used to drink his backwash. Just sit there and and then until high school, I was like, ugh, I don't even like beer. But when I was little, I was down there polishing. And, you know, he would literally buy a case of Miller, probably, no connection. I wish we were heirs to the Miller family, which, by the way, is now, I believe, a Belgian brand. So here that, things come full circle. I'll have to look into that. I don't know. But I think he would buy a case and just drink it through the afternoon, or from the first kickoff till he was out. And he always left some in the bottom of each bottle, so I would just go over there and drink it. No idea that I might be getting myself drunk. No, I just liked it for the taste. So you could say I'm my father's daughter, aren't we all? So that's my first Bills memory. You see, it's not really specific to the Bills, but it's specific to watching football with my dad. And of course, anyone who knows my Uncle Van knows that the royal blue, navy blue, and red runs in our veins. Yeah, not like we had a choice. Just like most mafia, we don't have a choice. We're born into this, and lucky us, right? Okay, so anyhow, I wanted to talk about this KPI thing, us winning on all accounts except the game itself, the score. So it's really hard to pick apart a performance like that. And Josh was slinging it. I wouldn't say it wasn't big yardage situations, but what was really great is he was very relaxed, very focused, really in the pocket. So this is where that term comes from, I guess, right? He was in the pocket. My husband asked me, what is the pocket? You know, let's maybe there's a scientific answer for it, because that whole 5 yard thing about ineligible receiver, illegal tack in the backfield. Those are all about the distance from the line of scrimmage. So let's figure out what the scientific definition of in the pocket is. And Josh was in it, right? Taking what the defense gave him, which is a really interesting juxtaposition vis-a-vis what Ken Dorsey was doing, in my opinion. So Ken Dorsey's scheming really relied on, if you remember Josh saying, get open and catch the ball, right? GOCTB. That was his and Steph's slogan last year, not this season, but the previous season. And, we did talk about Steph's performance falling off. And I think this is part of the reason, because Joe Brady is looking at, he's not relying on hero behavior. So Josh can still be a hero, which he is, right? Because he's Superman, or the Buffalo Unicorn, or the alien, like I posted last week. I got to share that graphic ahead of the game. It looked like, instead of Allen, it was a font type that made it look like there were dots above each letter. So you could read it as alien. So Josh Alien, totally on point. Anyhow, hero behavior, I did a bit of consulting about building effective IT organizations. Okay, I know we don't need to go that deep, but anyhow, one of the takeaways is that if a system is broken, you need heroes. Okay, I want you to just think about that for a minute. And lots of guys like to be heroes. It's the counterpoint to the damsel in distress situation. Oh, help! Here I come to save the day. Ugh. There are these stereotype tropes, whatever you want to call them, human nature, if you will, to be nice. But who doesn't want to be a hero? And heroic behavior is usually, they always say, I'm not a hero, anyone would have done that. Actually, it's reptile brain. So you literally are not thinking when you do heroic stuff. There's the thinking brain is short-circuited. You just do the thing, whatever it is. You can end up dead too. Like, I'm gonna put out the fire myself. So that's the whole thing. You're not thinking. You're just, it's like kind of survival mode or whatever, reptilian brain. Okay. But that is a symptom of the fact that something has gone wrong. So, back to kind of my old area of work, implementing processes. So, this is music to my ears when we talk about trust the process. The whole idea of process thinking is that you put a system in place, and it doesn't matter who is there, but the steps will be executed. There will be a certain input, there will be a certain output, and titles. So not actual people, but there are roles in a process for different individuals to fill. And even procedures, the hike count or whatever it is. So we don't talk specifically about Mitch Morse, although we do, because I'll come back to that in a second. because the center is a really critical role in an offensive line, right? Um, it's more than the right arm of the quarterback. It's the center, right? There's that. It's an extension of the quarterback, or you could even say that the quarterback is the extension of the center. It's a very, very important role, an important relationship. And so in processes, you identify the role and you say that role is responsible for A, B, C, and D. So you identify the role, you identify the responsibilities, and even the actions. So like in IT, we talk about, okay, if this situation arises, if this incident happens, this is the script that you need to carry out. So like, the infamous, I can't get my screen is frozen, right? Did you try turning it off and on again? That's a classic script. Back in the day when you would call the IT desk, they would pull up the script for, frozen screen, and they would read that to you. So in that scenario, you have a process, which is incident management. You have the roles, you have the end user, you have the customer service desk representative. You have the process. So, this is an incident. How do we manage incidents? And there are steps in that. You get a call to the service desk, and then you identify that incident. You might give it a number or something, right? And then you triage it. So that's one of the first things that the service desk representative will do. Will triage. How important is it? How urgent is it? And then based on that, who's the next role in the process, who I'm going to feed that incident to. So the input is the incident. The output, ideally, is a solved incident, right? That's the process. In short, but there are so many processes that's important to bear in mind. And there are so many roles, and there are so many responsibilities, and there are so many actions. And, football is the same. It's very complex. That's fine. We can manage complexity. That's just a little bit like under the hood to be thinking about. So then when they talk about execution, right? So in their view, you could say I don't want to get into like, what are the processes for a football game? It could be really interesting. This is what coaches discuss, right? What is the process? Or there's several. In IT, there were like 10 or something back in the day when I was doing this. It could have evolved. But generally speaking, these things don't. Like once you identify, if you find a logical way to group actions, right, and how they fit in with each other, and then it gets very, very interesting. And the more you get that process systems thinking in place, allegedly, the better your system function, your whole overall organization functions. When there aren't systems in place, when the shit hits the proverbial fan, is when you need a hero. Okay? Like that service desk representative gets something on fire, like the CEO, she's on a flight to some strategic meeting and her laptop is not working or something. She does not have access. This is when like people just chuck out the process and throw on the cape and say, I'm going to fix it because it's the CEO. No, 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 no. That's not how it works. Not because it's Mahomes do we do something different. Not because it's Kelsey. We've got the process in place. This is why, you hear that language about next man up, or next woman up. The people, unfortunately, kind of, because they're just in the system, so they're kind of like pawns. Like I said, they're interchangeable. So in theory, that is how it works, is like, that's that role, and now you're in that role, and now you're injured, so someone else has got to go. That's how the military works too, right? Rank and file, and roles and responsibilities and accountability. And that's also where we talk about key performance indicators. So, what are we measuring that customer service representative on? How many calls have they received? How many catches? How many targets, right? How many did they catch? For how much yardage? So same thinking. How many calls came in? How many were appropriately triaged to the organizations or to the other roles who are supposed to take them on? How far did they get? Did they go correctly through the system, through the process? And at what point were those incidents tackled and solved? And per person. So how good were you at solving the problems that landed on the incidents that landed on your desk? So the system breaks down when the customer service rep goes, "Oh, it's the CEO. She's in trouble. I'm going to solve this incident." And then starts, doing who knows what. Okay. First of all, you're going outside the bounds of the process, right? You're kind of usurping the plan, or maybe there's no process in place. So that's a little bit symptomatic of, you got one person who is randomly managing all kinds of different incidents that are happening. And when these are big ones, they say, "Oh, it's going to be me. I'm going to solve this problem, and I'm going to get the credit for it." Put the cape on and go. So heroics, and that is a little bit of the style of play that the Ken Dorsey offense was encouraging, is, get open and catch the ball. It's really not systems thinking. It's not process thinking. But it's super fun. Like, because if you get those clinch plays, when you get them, you're the hero. But I think it's a lot of stress, honestly. And it was stress for Josh to have to, for the offense to rely on him in that way, and rely on those big yardage passes that are completed. So on both ends. So for the receiver as well as the quarterback, it's like holding your breath and jumping in the deep end. And it's random. I mean, I don't mean to criticize Ken Dorsey's offensive scheming, but again, the guys at Cover One, I think it's their tape review podcast, which I love so much. I'll try to remember what it's called, but they could also show you how that offensive scheming was so one-dimensional, and part of it is simply not working the middle of the field. So when you see soft pressure, that you're actually, like Josh did in this last game and has been doing for the last 8 games, that you pass it, a screenplay to the right or to the left, short distance over the middle, or, play action, and then short distance, this whole, run pass option or pass run option business. And again, the question arises, because we saw some connections. I guess those were the only 3 connections between Josh and Stefan in the last game, were of that nature. And like I wrote on Twitter, this gave me the hives each time I saw it, because it's not Steph definitely James Cook, even Devon Singletary did a lot of that. And this is also where Shakir, Khalil Shakir, this is really where, oh, Cole Beasley, right? He was third down, third and Beasley. Um, Slot receiver, right? You just know you can get that 4, 5, 6 yards in a pinch. But seeing Steph doing that was just really awkward to me. I'm not sure it's like the best utilization of his skill set, which, it is about reading the defense. You're gonna like soft coverage, zone defense. Um, then we're gonna exploit that, right? Take that short yardage and make those second downs, turn them into first downs, which I think a lot of happened in that last game. So really interesting, different scheming approach takes a lot of stress off of Josh to not have to be the hero. And also, I was going to say James Cook was a wide receiver in college, so he's got good hands and can do that. Now, back to why we still lost the game and Mitch Morse. Um, so my husband looked up, he was like investigating what the different roles on the football team are. And he said, even on Wikipedia, this is a really subjective statement. However, the job description for a center offensive lineman includes an extremely high amount of intelligence. I have to say, when I first really, maybe 3 years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago, when I really started to watch the press moments and things like that with our players, I was blown away listening to Mitch Morse. I was like, he has a certain equanimity, like level-headedness or sanguine attitude. I really like that. I guess sanguine from the word blood, as in ice in his veins. No, I wouldn't say that Mitch Morse has ice in his veins, but you gotta be freaking tough to play center every snap, right? Knows all the players in the league, knows all the plays. And like I said, this connection between the center and the quarterback is like understated, perhaps, but equally important as the receiver quarterback, maybe more so. Like if you see your center go out, for me, that's like, I want to cry. I just want to cry. Which is also why the Terrell Bernard situation was also devastating, and that AJ Klein's participation in these in the two playoff games was really, really critical. I mean, he was there in a clinch moment that is understated. I mean, Brandon Beane says, yeah, that was great. Sean McDermott says, yeah, that was great. They must have known they had him in their back pocket because he was in there so fast. And that's the role of, that's basically the center for the defense. Not quite, you're not actually taking the tackles up front, but it is the center. Like if you look for me, it's the equivalent of basketball, so the tall person who stands at the end of the paint, right, and just directs traffic cop, but a big, strong traffic cop who can also slam dunk. Or the soccer field, same thing. As good Belgians, we're all big Red Devil fans. So that's other football in our lives, which kind of filled the void for me where the Bills are concerned while I lived in Belgium because love those guys. They also had the freaking dream team and came that close, So sound familiar? Like just being a glutton for punishment, regardless of what the sport is. But that center back, Romelu Lukaku, is the center for the Bills or for the Red Devils. Even the Americans know him because he played in the game, that famous was a UEFA semifinal, US Belgium. Man, it seems like eons ago now, because these are like every 4 years or something crazy. It's like, what do you do? I mean, we think we got it bad, right? We got to wait a year now to start the engine moving again, start the slog, the journey. Imagine having to wait 4 years. Like when you have like a star team, they get long in the teeth. And yeah, time goes a lot slower and a lot faster. It's like the Olympics. So Mitch Morse, I just love there's a maturity about him, obviously, and intelligence, but also an emotional intelligence. He's so good at relativizing this crap, you know, and he's the one who said it can be any two plays in a given game, and you never know which ones they're going to be, and that turns the tide. So I spoke all about process thinking and heroics being a symptom of bad processing, bad systems, either system design or bad the actors not playing their roles or not knowing their roles. That's the thing about a process is it should be predictable. The outcomes should be predictable. So garbage in, garbage out, class operation, class inputs, class outputs. I also use that for diversity and inclusion, diverse thoughts in, innovation out. Because yeah, the more diversity of thought you've got, the more interesting, exciting, dynamic. Sometimes the process moves slower. And you know what? That's okay. Sometimes it has to move fast. So that's also a really important takeaway from systems process thinking is if it is the CEO calling you with a fire burning on her desk, a figurative fire, she still has got to go through the process. You have to respect the steps, just maybe faster than usual, so there's got to be an urgent pathway through the process, but you still respect the process. So respect the process. Now, how do you lose games where you're winning on all counts? That's just it. A couple of plays that you might want back. Okay, so I think that's all for me for today. Now the most urgent thing is probably to start actually getting these podcasts out there. So maybe we should take a poll on naming. We have Bill's sisters. We have Light on Bill, so I kind of like that one as well. Of course, you're always going to be my sisters, so that's definitely implicit regardless. And yeah, any volunteers who want to help with this, because especially the editing job is really heavy lifting. I could use the help, but happy to do it myself too, till I figure it out. I think this is where I say be sure to like and subscribe and comment. It's much harder to be a woman and leave your comments section open. Here we go. You know what I mean? I just happen to be an expert in online safety, and I'm going to, relaunch my diatribe about the internet being a men's locker room, which is exactly what it is. So here we are. Like, comment, and subscribe. And let's also find a way to bankroll this kind of activity, whether it's for me or for other women out there who really deserve a voice in the discussion of football and sports and leadership. Peace.